I just pressed the Let's Go Live button. Let's wait for those tubes to connect themselves all over the fruited plains of the internet and the world as we warm this place up a bit. Looks like we're live on Telegram. Hello to YouTube. Our friends on Locals just kicked over, and Rumble. Tremendous news. That means we can go ahead and get started. So let's do it, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney, and today we are talking about Nathan Wade and Fani Willis and how Wade is now busted. We have some interrogatories to go through, and interrogatories are something we don't really talk a lot about here because we talk mostly criminal law. But interrogatories are a series of questions that opposite sides propose to one another. So think of it like interrogation a little bit. You send the other side a series of questions, and then they say, no, I did not do this, or yes, I did do this, or I admit this, or I deny this, and you fill it out. It's kind of a way to probe the other side without having to do a full-blown deposition, right? You just kind of ask questions back and forth. You fill out interrogatories, and this is common in divorce cases. And that happened in the divorce case of Nathan Wade. Problem is, the interrogatories that he submitted in the divorce with his wife, called Jocelyn, they don't match his affidavit that he submitted to the court. So he's got one set of interrogatories that he says, these are honest, these are under oath, I swear these are true. He sends those to his ex-wife and their lawyers. And then he submits something else in the court of law talking about Big Fani. And that affidavit doesn't match the other things he said. So which one is true? We don't know. But the defendant, called David Shafer, has submitted a supplemental filing that we're going to go through today. It is nice because it compares and contrasts his statements. And some people might say maybe he's confused. Maybe he's just kind of like an elderly old man or something. Or he's lying, right? It's one of the two. And so David Shafer is a co-defendant, and he's got a very nice place you can support him and his defense. He's raising funds for his defense. We'll plug that later. But this is the filing that we'll dig into. It is submitted in Fulton County, and we are going to be ready for the Fani Willis Nathan Wade hearing, which is going to be scheduled tomorrow. So we're going to be planning on streaming all day tomorrow. So make sure you're subscribed and joining us on that one, starting bright and early, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. So the plan is probably not going to have a show tomorrow because we'll be streaming all day. I do intend to have a highlight reel after we do the full show assembled, in case you can't, stay around for 8 hours. But that's the plan. Now, this is all leading up to the hearing that takes place tomorrow. Trump had a different interpretation on how to say Fani's first name. We call her Fani here. I think the accurate pronunciation from her is Fani. And so he had an interesting take on how to pronounce it. We'll see what he said. Then, also out of Georgia, we have some senators who are actually, this is not really related to the scandal, but it is related to Fani's corruption and her inability to be an actual prosecutor who actually prosecutes crimes. Georgia state senators sent a letter over to Merrick Garland and the FBI, right? These are Georgia state people elected by Georgians. And they sent a letter to the FBI saying, our DA is not investigating election fraud. They're not doing anything about it because they're rigging the system, right? As we saw in 2020, when the water main broke at like 2 a.m. Remember that? All the news anchors were like, weird. A water main broke. At the tabulation center. Okay. Was it a toilet? What happened, right? Very strange. So they sent a letter over to the FBI and Merrick Garland, the Justice Department, saying, look, our own prosecutor is not investigating this stuff. Can you please help us? Not that they're any better. AOC is going to respond to election integrity, so we'll see what she says. And then we've got this update on, apparently, Obama's CIA was spying on Trump's campaign, or let's say this more accurately. They orchestrated other spies to spy on the campaign. So, of course, we know that our government is not supposed to be spying on our own people. But this guy, John Brennan, who was at the CIA under Obama, he evidently had triggered a bunch of the other Five Eyes countries, the Five Eyes nations, to literally go and spy on Trump's people. So they said, well, we can't do it, but maybe you can, Australia. Maybe you can, England. Maybe you can, and so on. And they all did it, apparently. Trump knew this was going on. He's got the documents about it. We're going to go down memory lane And remember, when he was talking about this, he says, yeah, it's all there. It's the documents that show it, right? It's all in evidence. So then we'll go to the story from Michael Schellenberger, Matt Taibbi, and Alex Gutentag. They all posted this over on Public, and so we'll read through some of that piece. Then we've got Joe Brzezinski. He's on the Morning Brzezinski Show, and he's saying to all of us that democracy is on the line. It's like, yes, yes, we know. So we'll see what's going on there. We also have, as a reminder, the Fani Willis hearing tomorrow. We're going to be streaming this puppy, and this is the final order from the judge, okay? Amended notice of emotions hearing. He said, having read all of this and adopted the supplementals, we are scheduled for an evidentiary hearing to begin Thursday, February 15th. That's tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. and continuing through Friday, February 16th. And so we have rescheduled our lodge event on Friday. So we postponed that. We had a lodge event that was scheduled for Friday with Politicals and Wellness. Jason Campbell is awesome, and he is very accommodating. I sent him a text and said, listen, bro, Fani is going to be here on Friday. You know, any way we can reschedule this thing? And he said, yeah. He says, okay, I guess I got bumped by Big Fani. Hard to avoid it, brother. Everybody gets bumped by Big Fani. So he has been gracious enough to reschedule. We're going to come back at Watcher Lodge on 2/29 at 9 a.m. and we're going to have our Zen Wellness event. We're also next week on Thursday. It's not on Lodge yet, but it's going to be. We're doing a food sovereignty workshop with my good friend Michael Voltz, and he's a genius. So he's going to share with us his strategies for building out your food supply. So go to Watcher Lodge, check out the calendar, register for these events. They're all free. You don't have to become a paying member for these events. We have other events that are for paying members. So just sign up, come and join us, all free. We also have our website, robertgovea.com. You can access the PDFs over there. If you want to check it out, it looks like this. Just click the reports section, scroll on down, grab whatever you want to read. This one here is the Trump petition to SCOTUS. Scroll on down, you'll see the full PDFs are there. And so it's all available. You can also read a report and check it out. We have the shop available as well. If you want to grab some swag, grab a hat, grab some sandals, grab some gear, and look good while you're watching the show. And then lastly, of course, we have our locals community, our members only community, which is where we do streams in the morning. We already had a full stream this morning. We have Saturday streams. We do after parties. As soon as we're done here, we go on over to locals and hang out with our members. And so come and join us. We have a great group of people, and we'd love it if you joined us. watchingthewatchers.locals.com. And we'll see you over there in our after party. But without any further ado, my friends, we got some business to attend to. And so let's get right into it, starting with Fani. Fani Willis and Nathan Wade are busted in even more lies. This time we're going to go through interrogatories. These are statements that both sides send to each other after they need to know more about the other side. So in a divorce proceeding, Jocelyn, Nathan Wade's ex-wife, sent him a bunch of interrogatories, and he responded. He said, I did this, or I didn't do this. This is the status, and so on. He sent those all back over to her. She would have sent his attorneys interrogatories. They're just exchanging information and communicating without having to go through a deposition. Well, the problem with Nathan's interrogatories are they don't match his affidavit that he submitted in court saying, I don't need to testify because all this is true. And this co-defendant, who's also been charged alongside Donald Trump, David Shafer, is saying that he has more evidence to bust these two. He says, we have supplemented our motion to disqualify Fani. And we have new exhibits here showing how sworn statements by Nathan Wade in the disqualification matter with sworn statements he gave in the divorce. Conflict, there's the word, conflict, I skipped it. How the matters conflict with sworn statements that he gave in his divorce. And so we're going to read through this. Of course, if you want to go and support David Shafer, he's being ridiculously prosecuted by Fani Willis and others. You can do that by giving him a follow over at David Shafer on the X platform and supporting what he's doing. But this is what he submitted into Fulton County in Fani Willis's courtroom along with Judge McAfee. This comes right before the hearing starts on Thursday. This is State of Georgia versus David Shafer, filed in the state of Georgia, Fulton County led by Fani, the biggest Fani in Georgia. Here is what Shafer says. All right, Judge McAfee, I know you've gotten a lot of these supplementals and you know there's a lot of dirt between these two, but there's more coming. Here it is. Defendant Shafer files this motion to show that upon information and belief, unfortunately, Special Assistant Wade, Nathan Wade, he's made knowingly false and misleading statements, lies about his relationship with Fani. Oh man, that's a serious accusation there. Like serious, right? He's a lawyer. He just got called a liar. Mr. Shafer submits the statements that we're going to go through as additional evidence of misconduct by the entire prosecution, including Willis and Wade, and this is grounds for disqualification. So they say, look, Attorney Wade, he filed interrogatory responses. And so think of it just as a series of questions, and they answer questions, so we don't have to sit for full depositions. Now, this was in Wade versus Wade, okay? This is in Jocelyn Wade, his ex-wife's divorce. So here's what happened. Now, Attorney Nathan Wade, the special counsel, Fani's hot dog, entered into a contract with Fulton County in November 1st, 2021. Okay, that's when the timeline's important here. Was she hot dogging Nathan Wade before or after the appointment? Now, this was to provide legal services related to anti-corruption matters. Now, on November 2nd then, right, so he gets this new contract with Fani. His sugar mama is going to give him $1 million. And then the next day, on November 2nd, counsel for Mr. Wade, so Nathan filed a complaint for divorce against Jocelyn. It's unbelievable. She's married to this man for 20 plus years. And he's like, perfect. I got this new contract. I'm out of here, baby. So long, mama. She raised his kids. Now, initiating the divorce in Wade versus Wade. Now, counsel for Mr. Wade's spouse, Jocelyn, served defendants first continuing interrogatories to plaintiff on Mr. Wade's counsel, right? So they sent him a list of questions on November 30th. So the timeline is divorce happens pretty quickly. She lawyers up. And this happens quick, right? So she filed, her attorneys are moving. They file interrogatories immediately on November 30th, 2021. So he files for divorce the second, boom, they've already got some activity. Now on May 30th, Mr. Wade served a response to our continuing interrogatories, the same thing we asked for. This is on May 30th, 2023. So think about how much time goes by, right? Almost 2 full years. Mr. Wade provided in relevant part when he responded the following information. So this is what interrogatories look like. They're big, giant list of questions. Okay, so question number 4 was this. All right, dear Mr. Wade, you have an obligation now. Describe each instance in which you had relations, indictments, with a person other than your spouse. Did you indict anybody other than your spouse? During the course of the marriage, okay, relations, and it doesn't mean like cohabitating. Did you have intercourse, all right? Like it's a specific. Including the period of separation. Were you and Fani, fannying by providing a complete contact information for each and every person and a complete description of the relations, right? So you have to, I guess, I mean, maybe they wanted to know like the positions and, how long was it and all the things. Music, lighting, I don't know. A complete description. So we want to know everything. What did Nathan Wade say? None. No fannying going on. No indictments at all. No, I haven't indicted anybody other than Jocelyn, a couple of years ago. So, that's curious. He wrote none. So is he lying there? Because there's some other evidence that says he was doing some serious indicting of Fani back during a judicial conference, even before he got the contract. Oops. Here's another question for Nathan in his divorce. Identify any and all occasions in which you entertained a member of the opposite sex other than your spouse who is not related to you. Okay, entertained. What does that mean? Who is not related to you by blood or marriage, or in which a member of the opposite sex other than your spouse who is not related to you by blood or marriage entertains you. Oh. And what does that include? Dining or drinking at restaurants, bars, pubs, hotels, or the person's home from the date of the marriage to the present. So Nathan, Have you ever entertained someone on a hotel cruise? Have you ever been to someone's home? Have you ever taken Fani to a bar or to a pub or to a restaurant? Obviously they did. They went to Napa Valley, right? They were whining and dining all over the place. Answer, none, Nathan says, none. Oops. And again, okay, he submitted all of this on May 30th, 2023, so they're not that old. So, like, clearly, you could have a question, for example, maybe there's some issues about when these relations happened, but clearly the evidence is after May 30th, 2023. Now, Mr. Wade did not verify his responses to the interrogatories. But then we have some more information. We had Michael Roman and Ashley Merchant, hero defense attorney from the state of Georgia, submitted a motion to dismiss and disqualify. And then Wade supplemented his interrogatory responses. Weird. He fixed the record? On November 30th, 2023, counsel for Mrs. Wade served defendant's notice to plaintiff to supplement discovery. So Mrs. Wade, Jocelyn, the innocent party in all of this, she is the defendant, okay, because Nathan Wade filed the divorce. So he petitioned for the divorce. She's defending this. So she submits a notice to supplement discovery. I want more stuff. She sends that over to counsel for Mr. Wade. So her lawyer sends Wade's lawyer, says, November 20th, we know that there's some serious indictments going on between Fani and Wade. She's like, what? She learns about it right after the motion to dismiss drops because Ashley Merchant blows the lid off the whole thing. So then on January 8th, Michael Roman filed a motion to dismiss the grand jury. Okay, so this is actually when he filed his motion to dismiss. So let's just keep going. The timeline's a little bit wonky right now. So Roman submits the filing to dismiss, but before that, there was a supplemental request for discovery by Jocelyn. So in other words, maybe she knew before the defense knew, right? Maybe she had an idea about this before the defense caught on. So then on January 8th, Michael Roman filed a motion to dismiss. We've read that here and along with the supplementals, and it's outstanding. Like the whole thing is just uncovered in there. It's great. Shout out to Ashley Merchant. Seeking the dismissal of the prosecution's indictment and the disqualification of Fani and her office. Now, the Roman motion alleged that Mr. Wade and DA Fani were involved in a personal romantic relationship at the time that Willis offered Wade his contract. So back on November 1st, 2021, before he divorces her or files for divorce, they're already indicting each other. Now, it's stated that Mr. Wade paid for personal trips, for cruises, for hotel rooms, for DA Willis, from the account that was used to receive payments under his contract with Willis, which is like, oh my God, like you're supposed to have a personal account and a business account. Okay, but the Roman motion to dismiss and disqualify, furthermore, also alleged that Mr. Wade and DA Willis had cohabitated with each other. With each other at a location owned by another party during Mr. Wade's employment as the special attorney. Now, after filing the motion to dismiss, which contained allegations of this relationship, the motion directly contradicted Wade's May 2023 interrogatory responses. That's weird. He said there was no indicting going on with anybody. No entertaining at all. But that didn't work out well for him. Once that motion hit, Wade said, I'm busted. Then Mr. Wade realized he was caught. On January 26th, then 2024, counsel for Mr. Wade in Mr. Wade's divorce action filed plaintiff's objections and responses to the notice for supplemental discovery. So Jocelyn says, okay, look, buddy, I know you've been indicting Fani. I want more discovery. They object. But when they objected to that additional discovery, Mr. Wade supplemented his prior responses. Okay, so these prior statements where he says none, oops, none, he wants to correct the record. Why? Because he got busted. Now, same question. Okay, right, describe when you had actual relations with this person. Original response, none. The original lie was none. Updated response is, oops, the plaintiff declines to respond to this interrogatory and assert his privilege pursuant to Georgia law. That's an interesting question. OCGA section 255505. Maybe it's the Fifth Amendment. I don't know. Incorporated into the Georgia statutes. But he declines to respond to the interrogatory. So that's a very different statement, isn't it? It goes from none, I was totally faithful to you. I never, ever had relations with anyone else, ever. And I'm not giving you a complete description, to suddenly, oops, not going to talk about it. Same question. Have you entertained or entertained anyone else or been entertained? Original lie was none. Second updated response, which should have been the actual answer, right, if he was being honest at the beginning, says the plaintiff declines to respond and assert his privileges. Thanks, Nathan. So they say, that's interesting. So which one, why did you lie in the first place? Now, they continue. They say Special Assistant Wade's sworn declaration and other motions disqualify Fani. They say on February 2nd, the prosecution, in the name of Fani Willis herself, they filed an opposition to Roman's motion to dismiss. So Roman says, you guys have an affair, you got to be disqualified. Fani responded. Here you go. They gave us the code. Thank you for that. Shout out to these attorneys. So OCGA, what he's invoking, says, no party or witness shall be required to test. Okay, it's the Fifth Amendment. May incriminate or tend to incriminate or bring disgrace or public contempt upon a party or such party or witness's family. It's being incorporated, right? It's his right to remain silent. He's invoking. Got it. So then Fani responded. And remember, she had all that information. She knew everything about like Jocelyn. She said Jocelyn like cheated on Nathan. And we know that's not true, which is, defamatory. But the first exhibit in the prosecution's response when Fani responded was a sworn declaration. Remember, Nathan Wade submitted this. He said, under oath, he said, told you this, Judge. Paragraph 26. He said, while professional associates and friends since 2019, there was no personal relationship between me and Fani prior to the time or at the time of my appointment as special prosecutor. Look at that. No personal relationship. The defense says otherwise. They say that they met each other at a judicial conference and they got their robes going. In 2022, Nathan Wade says, DA Willis and I, so note that time, we don't know what month or whatever, but sometime in 2022, love is messy, DA Willis and I developed a personal relationship in addition to their personal association and their friendship. And again, we don't know when that was, but it came after. Now that's only, marginally better, but the idea would be Fani's heart just took over. She can't fight love, And so it's just developed, right? Workplace relationships happen. Okay. Maybe you can write that off as an innocent thing. Obviously not. But, that may be better than her saying, I like you. I enjoy sleeping with you. How about I give you a job so you can leave your wife? That's a little bit different. And it looks like that's actually what happened. So he says, we developed a close relationship in 2022, which is weird because he got the contract and he filed for divorce the next day. Weird coincidence. But he says, no funds paid to me in compensation for my role as the prosecutor have been shared with or provided to Willis. And, that's a very squishy, that's a very amorphous phrase there. Shared with. What does that mean? Like, I'm sure he's not like, hey, can you break this hundo so I can give her half? Can you split this cash so she gets some of this? Like, obviously, I don't think that happened. Or he deposited money into her bank account. No, but they did go on cruises like every single month. Some months they had to take off because, going on cruises every month is very tiring. But I think they went December, January, February, March, took off April, came back in May. You're like, gosh. So some of that money that he is spending on Fani clearly came from his job, right? It's obviously trace it right back to it. So he says, I never cohabitated with DA Willis. He put that in paragraph 31. And he also says, Fani and I are both financially independent professionals. Yeah, right. And expenses for personal travel were roughly divided equally between us. Well, that's not what the records show. Okay, we see a lot of money coming out of Wade's account going to the benefit of Fani. But here is what they say. David Shafer's defense continues. Co-defendant, along with Trump, says the prosecution's opposition repeatedly, Fani wrote this, they cite Mr. Wade's declaration. They say, we don't need this case to even go to a hearing. Judge, deny the motion to dismiss, deny the request to disqualify, because Wade's declaration settles the whole thing. We don't need to dig into this. It also claims that Mr. Wade's affidavit was provided, they said specifically, quote, in an effort to be as candid and transparent with the court as possible. We're going to see where this goes. Now, during a hearing on various motions to quash that we listened to earlier this week, on February 12th, counsel for the prosecution furthermore represented to the court. And we listened to this. I believe this was Anna Cross who said this statement. She said, Miss Merchant, Your Honor, Miss Merchant represented that with these witnesses who got subpoenaed, and actually subpoenaed like half of Fulton County. Yeah, like the parking garage guy. Now, what time does Fani get here in the morning? All right, you're subpoenaed. Get in here. So I think 2 weeks ago now, prior to the filing, Miss Merchant, this is what Anna Cross said in court, represented that these witnesses subpoenaed, I think, 2 weeks ago now, prior to the filing of Wade's affidavit, that any of these witnesses would refute the allegations or the representations that were made in the affidavit. That any of these would refute. These witnesses that have been subpoenaed now for a hearing this afternoon have nothing at all to do or to add to the allegations that were made. Nothing in support, nothing that would undermine the affirmations that were made in the Wade affidavit, right? So Anna was saying the affidavit's all you need. These witnesses are not going to contradict anything that's inside. She said the affirmations and the facts sworn by an officer of the court that were made are categorically true. She said they are 100% true. I almost feel bad for these people. It's like, gosh, Anna's got to come out now and defend these two. Unless she believes that, but I mean, the evidence is overwhelming against that. So we're going to go into that. But it's like, oh my gosh, all these people have to stand up and defend Fani. It's like, was that your vision of your career as a prosecutor? You're going to go out there and do justice or whatever you guys do. And then you're going to say that you're basically defending one of the biggest criminals in the whole county is your boss. Weird jobs. But all right, prosecutors, that's just how they are. So Special Assistant DA Wade's, they say false and misleading statements. So now they laid this out quite nicely, right? Okay, this is what Wade said in his divorce. This is what Wade said in his affidavit. And this is what the state said during the court proceeding where we got into this. So now let's just obliviate all of it. They say, first of all, Wade's made false and misleading statements. They say first, Mr. Wade's sworn statement in his affidavit on behalf of Fani Willis, right? She signed that, or it came from her office. Okay, so she's endorsing that statement. Opposing the motion to dismiss, they said that in 2022, Willis and I developed a personal relationship. But unfortunately, Exhibit A demonstrates that Wade's responses to his spouse's interrogatories in May of 2023 regarding whether he had relations with any other person was false. So he basically lied in his interrogatories in May. Then he admitted in May of 2023, he said, I did not have relations with that woman. But he just admitted in 2022 he did. So why did he lie to the court? And this is not a minor thing, okay? This is a lawyer who's licensed. You're supposed to have, higher standards than that. So he, was dishonest, clearly. Now, similarly, Mr. Wade's admission that he and Willis traveled together and shared expenses, it also directly contradicts his interrogatory response. He said none. He said that in 2023. He said there were no occasions where Mr. Wade entertained a member of the opposite sex. financial documents which have come into the possession of the defense refute that, and they contradict Mr. Wade's claim that they roughly divided their expenses equally. Not true. They say, as attorneys and officers of the court, and man, they beat this stuff into you in law school. Like you have to take, you have to take a whole ethics exam. Like you have to take the bar exam, obviously, but you also have to take an ethical exam. And then they put you through character and fitness. They go through everything, all your friends, all your old traffic tickets they go through. They have to go through your financial records, your credit, all this stuff. And then they beat it into you, right? You're supposed to, you have an actual duty, right? A duty of truthfulness. You cannot lie to this court. You owe a duty of candor to the court. Georgia Rules of Professional Code 3.3. It says, a lawyer shall not knowingly make a false statement of material fact of law or a fact or law to a tribunal. He did. He lied specifically in those interrogatories. You may not knowingly offer evidence that the lawyer knows to be false. If a lawyer has offered material evidence and comes to know of its falsity, the lawyer shall take a duty to remedy that. But he knew at the outset. Now, the duties stated in paragraph A continue throughout the proceedings, and the maximum penalty for a violation of this rule is disbarment. And this is a big deal. Like, one of the things when lawyers get busted for stuff, it's almost always financial or communication related, or kind of like attorneys will just like drop off the face of the planet. Like, where the hell does this guy go? Like, no clients can contact, they're just gone, So a lot of reasons why this happens. But when you see attorneys get in trouble, one of the things that they'll look into is like, were you self-interested? Were you acting with a selfish purpose, or a selfish motive? Like you might do something bad on behalf of a client, right? You might like fib, well, my client's not really my client's sick. That's why I can't be here today. You're like, okay, I know he's not sick. I know he's probably going to get taken into custody. And so you're like, he's like a doctor's appointment or something, right? And then like, okay, like that's a lie. That's a big problem. Like you can't do that, right? But that's to help your client. And so you go, okay, that's not a self-interested reason why you lied. So you're just trying to like, maybe you're stupid, maybe it was, ill-advised or whatever, but it's still a lie. But that's different. Like when you're trying to cover up your own stuff, you're lying to the court because you don't want to admit you're sleeping with the district attorney until you got busted. And that adds, insult to injury. It's like if your mom catches you and like, did you do this, little Robbie? I'm like, yeah. Okay, let's talk about that, right? And don't do it again. Here's why. Here's a break. But if you lie to your mom about that, things are twice as bad, right? First of all, you did it and you lied. That's not good. So this is like I can't emphasize enough how big of a deal that is. But that's what's happening in Fulton. So the rules, like these are the rules, which I don't know that matter anymore. Like, do they matter at all? Like, if the bar exam is filled with a bunch of Fani Willises, what are they going to do? Or the bar, the state bar. A lawyer, they say, must not allow the tribunal to be misled by false statements or facts or evidence. He or she possesses an obligation as an officer of this court to prevent the trier of fact from being misled. If everybody just lies to the courts, it's bedlam. Nothing works. Legal argument based on a knowingly false representation constitutes dishonesty toward the tribunal. Like, let's say you pick up a case or something, right? Like, what's this case law? You say this case says this, and it doesn't say that. That's dishonest. That's a problem. And you get busted. Like Michael Cohen got busted for creating fake cases using Bard, Google Bard or whatever. And that's dishonest, right? Courts do not like that. And they flipped out, right? His lawyer's going through the serious ringer on that one. And that's like an honest mistake. Use ChatGPT. Like they flipped out about that. This dude's lying to the courts. So all this relates to fairness. And it says lawyers shall not counsel or even assist a witness to testify falsely, right? And, defendant comes in and says, well, how about I just take the stand and lie? And you're like, no, right? So Mr. Shafer, they say, and other defendants in this action, they possess due process rights to a disinterested prosecutor. We don't want prosecutors to be openly and nakedly biased or naked. The prosecution has a special duty not to mislead. The government should, of course, never make affirmative statements to contrary to what it knows to be the truth. They say the defendants here have raised serious grounds in support of disqualification of DA Fani and her office. And Fani's allegations must be taken seriously by the court and the state in order to preserve the public confidence in the integrity and the impartiality of the administration of justice. Any knowingly untrue statement submitted by or on behalf of a prosecutor in responding to disqualification, we submitted a disqualification request if they're being dishonest in their affidavits to the court, that should be held to constitute misconduct, amounting to forensic misconduct, and should be found to constitute an additional grounds for disqualification. Saying, based upon the facts and the authorities set herein, David Shafer respectfully requests that Fani be disqualified and that this case be dismissed. Signed by Craig Gillen, Georgia Bar, out of Georgia. Also signed by Holly Pearson, also out of Georgia. And so let's see what they've got here in the exhibits. This is the actual interrogatory, okay, that Nathan Wade apparently signed. Here are some of the questions. And these are what we get, right? Please identify all persons whom you know or believe to have knowledge of the following areas of fact. Does anyone know about the causes of your separation, Nathan? Does anybody know why you got divorced? None. Nobody does. Well, that's not true either, by the way. Apparently, Fani Willis knows because her office commented on that in their reply. They said Jocelyn was sleeping with someone else. A scandalous lie. She was only texting somebody, okay, over Facebook, and it never went anywhere. And she recognized it was a mistake. Tried to reconcile their marriage, but this dude's sleeping with Fani. Sheesh. So, okay, causes of separation, probably no one else other than Nathan, but Fani clearly knows. Your earnings and earning capacity, who knows about that? He says my CPA does. Who knows the assets of your marriage value? He says my CPA does. Nathan, what do you contend was the cause or causes of your separation from your spouse, Nathan? Please specify any conduct that you contend that your spouse engaged in that contributed to the causes of the separation, right? And in Fani's response, she said Jocelyn was cheating on him. He didn't even mention that, okay? He just says irreconcilable differences. You know, in addition to the fact that he got a big fat contract from Fani, irreconcilable differences. Plus, I'm going to get $1 million in the next couple of years. Describe each instance. Here you go. And man, this one's pretty explicit. Yeah, because some people were saying certain types of contact doesn't count. Maybe he's like, well, we didn't have intercourse, but we just did these things or something, right? No, that's not what this question says. It's very specific. Have you had any relations, including anything, all over the time? Okay, any type of version of this counts. Was there even kissing? Did you even kiss? Was there any fondling? Did you touch her butt? Answer, none. No Fani rubbing at all. Nothing. He says none. Man, that doesn't sound true at all. And we're going to hear about this in the hearing that takes place tomorrow. Says, identify any and all occasions in which you entertained a member of the opposite sex. Bars, all the locations. Here, if any such individual, also talking about your children, did you introduce anybody to your kids? If so, let us know when. Answer, none. None. None contributing to the divorce. Also says, list all property, real or personal, that you claim is separate property. So anything you want to split up, he says, just my personal clothing. I'll just take my personal clothing and we'll call that a day. To Nathan, this is his interrogatory, says, any cash that you have in your possession, I've got $2,300. That's in a safety deposit box. Any property being owned? He says none. That was on the 30th day of May. In 2023, respectfully submitted by Nathan Wade, right? There you go. So he signed off on that. He says none on multiple occasions. Then something changed, right? He got busted. Exhibit B. This is our certificate of service. These are the continuing interrogatories. This was submitted in the Jocelyn Wade case. Wade versus Wade. This is the divorce. So this goes through. Exhibit C, we've got other responses. So this is Nathan now responding. And when did this one get filed? Let's see when this one dropped. Yeah, this is the new updated set of interrogatories. And just to be clear on the date this got filed, okay, January 26, not too long ago, he gets busted. His attorney, Scott Kimbrough, submits this new update. Comes now Nathan Wade, and we supplement our responses to our prior interrogatories where we just lied. They say, first of all, Nathan Wade objects to each and every interrogatory. Why? It would require or is calculated to require Nathan Wade to respond by disclosing his attorney's work product, right? His opinions, computations, files, records, note, and all that. So as phrased and stated, the said interrogatory, because Jocelyn Wade sent over more discovery, basically they said, hey, we want supplemental discovery right here. And you better give it to us. No, we object. You're asking for my work product, and I'm not going to give it to you. We also object to each and every other interrogatory to the extent that whether standing alone or taken in conjunction, it is unduly causing expense and burden. It's oppressing and all Nathan Wade. But here are the updates. So the original response about the divorce, he said irreconcilable differences, right? Whoa. So here is what they say. They say Jocelyn actually did have an affair, which she denies. So here's their updated response. They said irreconcilable differences. They say that Jocelyn had an affair with this guy called Jay for 4 years, 2011 to 2015. Upon learning of this, Wade confronted Jocelyn with this information. He says the marriage is over. Now, they agreed to remain together and cohabitate and co-parent until their youngest child graduated from high school, went to college. The youngest child graduated from high school in 2021, went to college in fall of 2021, and shortly thereafter, he filed this action. Yeah, likely story. Weird how it timed up right with his new contract. Amazing. So describe each instance in which you had relations with another person. He updates this one. Says, we decline to respond to this interrogatory and we assert our right to remain silent. So that got changed. Original response was none. I didn't fondle any fannies. No fanny fondling at all. And then he says, oops. Okay, maybe I was a little bit, but I can't tell you about it because I'm going to be in big trouble. Identify any and all occasions where you entertained her. And he says none originally, but then he updates it. Right to remain silent. Now he updates this. Personal clothing is his. Now it's personal clothing and effects, whatever that means. All updated and signed and submitted by his attorney. So that all gets sent in. It gets served and it's all added as exhibits, clearly showing that there is some funny business and some lying going on out of that office. Updating records, just kind of changing the story. All very curious. Donald Trump had something to say about Fani, or as he likes to call her, Fani. Here's what that sounds like with our new pronunciation.
Countries, this has never happened in our country before. And the local DAs are part of it, and the attorney generals are all a part of it. You saw what happened in Atlanta with Fani, F-A-N-I, Fani. How do you pronounce F-A-N-I, Fani?
It's Fani.
They interviewed her. Or I would never have an affair with anybody in my office. Well, she had an affair.
Yeah, she did.
And they paid the guy almost $1 million.
Yes, they did. Fani definitely was indicting her special counsel and paying him almost $1 million. So we, of course, are going to be here when this hearing happens. And so make sure you subscribe, my friends. It's going to be an early morning. We're going to have a full day of hearings on Thursday and maybe even on Friday. So be sure you're subscribed because we're starting bright and early on Thursday. The Fani Willis hearing is going to be in tow, and we can't wait to dig into it. Don't forget to check out some of the links down in the description below. Great events at watcherlodge.com. Free to sign up for our events. Come and join us. Watch Your Lodge. Get the PDFs at robertgovea.com. And of course, join us on Locals at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We got a lot to talk about We can't wait to do it. We'll see you back here on the next one. All right. Now, we are sticking with Fani, but it's a little bit different. This one's pretty curious as well, because she's getting castigated by her own senators. Fani Willis gets a nasty letter sent to the FBI and to Merrick Garland with the Department of Justice saying that she has failed to investigate Georgia election crimes. We know this all happened back during 2020. We were sitting here on election night watching the results come in. We went to bed, woke up the next morning, we learned there was a water break, a water leak in Fulton County. And as soon as they fixed the water, all of a sudden Joe Biden had some more votes. Where'd that come from? No one really knows. But nobody did anything to investigate any of this. They told us it was all safe and secure. They threw Brad Raffensperger out all over the place. Turns out there are serious catastrophic problems throughout Georgia. We already talked about this in the Amy Totenberg trial. She said that even after Dominion came in, updated a bunch of stuff, there were still problems. And so now Georgia is responding and they're saying, look, we need some help. And this is nerve-wracking because this is an important state in the next election. And if Fani is indicting her special counsel, and they're lying to all of us about that, covering it up, trying to fight everybody, even trying to tamper with witnesses, having their people call Ashley Merchant's witnesses and try to dissuade them, what are they going to do in 2024? And the senators at the state level in Georgia are so freaked out that they're actually asking for help from the FBI, which is like, oh, great. What's the FBI going to do? Just come in and cancel the election and just give it over to Biden? So here's the story. This one comes out to Merrick Garland and Jack Smith. It goes to Christopher Wray at the FBI. It goes to the Honorable U.S. Attorney out of Georgia. It goes to another judge out of the Southern District of Georgia, right? An assistant U.S. attorney, not the judge. They say, look, okay, we need some help. Dear Attorney General Garland, dear Special Counsel Smith, dear FBI Director Wray, and everybody. In January of 2021, nearly 3 years ago, operatives working on behalf of the Trump campaign entered the election offices of Coffee County to unlawfully copy the voting systems, right? They're kind of, this is a Trump claim, to perform tests on the voting system. Now, these activities were caught in detail, and records show that copies of the voting system were uploaded to a share file site, and Trump allies and activists got a hold of this, right? And this is the Trump portion. Now, they're being prosecuted for this. Now, nearly 3 years later, no charges, okay, I guess they're not being prosecuted, have been filed in Coffee County. Weird. Now, the only law enforcement agency in Georgia who has sought to hold those accountable is Fulton County. Now, again, that's nearly 300 miles away from Coffee. So in Coffee, they're saying there was illegal access, but nobody's doing it in Coffee. The only people that are holding accountable are Fani, essentially. An investigation by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation that was released to the public, which we talked about, reveals a profound failure of Georgia state law to adequately investigate the software breaches. So this is wild. So they're actually blaming like the Trumpers on this, saying that Trump people, went in and accessed some stuff, which is strange. Does that mean that no one else accessed it? It was only Trumpers? We are writing to urge you, the DOJ, this makes a lot more sense now, why they want the DOJ to come in here, and the FBI to immediately initiate an investigation. Please take over our elections. This makes all this more sense now. Now, these alleged criminal acts were uncovered not by the Georgia Secretary of State or the State Election Board or by Georgia Bureau of Investigation or local law enforcement, but by plaintiffs in civil litigation, right, in Curling versus Raffensperger. So in other words, the point is there is no oversight or control over their elections, right? They're saying our example is that Trump people went in and got records. Trump's people are saying you guys went in and rigged the election. They say hiding in plain sight, they found overwhelming evidence of crimes, including surveillance camera footage that illustrated in sharp detail the multiple security breaches. Now, the evidence uncovered by the Curling plaintiffs, and we've read through this one before, and it's not just the Trumpers, okay? These problems, by the way, were going back to 2018. So these senators are just, trying to smear the Trumpers. And of course, these are all probably Democrats. I don't know, but they probably are Democrats, right? This is why they're blaming the Trumpers on this. That's why they want the FBI to come in and secure their election. But Amy Totenberg, in a prior video we read through her opinion, she said these problems were monstrous going all the way back to 2018. So this Trump stuff, it's a red herring. Now, the evidence uncovered by the curling plaintiffs did form a factual basis for criminal charges, computer fraud, identity theft, and other things. It also spurred heaps of national media coverage, which compelled the Secretary of State to actually open an investigation. But recently, the Georgia Bureau's investigative summary has been made public, revealing that the state investigators did little original investigating. They relied heavily on evidence already developed by the curling plaintiffs. Why doesn't anybody want to investigate that crime, so-called? Well, maybe because it's going to expose serious problems throughout the entire system. Lawfare reviewed the summary, said the investigation was badly inadequate, noting that Georgia failed to answer or even contemplate key questions. They missed important connections. They omitted significant communications. They failed to interview individuals central to the crimes. The analysis exposes an embarrassingly inferior investigation, concluding with a note to Georgia attorney that he's been ill-served by Georgia. Says, as representatives of Georgia, we've all been ill-served by Georgia's woefully insufficient investigation. Now, these crimes alleged in Coffee County by Willis are serious and have significant implications for elections. And so, on behalf of the citizens in Georgia and in absence of a competent state investigation, we ask that the DOJ and the FBI launch a vigorous investigation into the voting system software breaches that occurred in Coffee County in Georgia in January 2021. And they're not going to want to do that because these go way back beyond January 2021. Okay, there were breaches and problems that go all the way back to 2018. So why would they want to look into this? They exploited it. That's how they won the state of Georgia. We saw the votes go up overnight. So they say, thank you for your time and attention to this matter. And I think that's exactly what they would want. Bring in the FBI, bring in the DOJ, let them run the elections. But my point in sharing this is that the whole thing is bad, right? It's all bad. The Democrat appointed judge, Amy Totenberg, said that the old system was bad. The new remedial system was bad. They have apparently done an investigation. They can't even investigate anything. So if they say to us, we did an investigation, okay, these same lefty Dems are going to say, well, we did an investigation in 2020 and the election was fair. In fact, it was the most secure election in American history. You go, what? You're saying those same people who are in charge just produced this piece of excrement and delivered it to you, and now you're begging the DOJ to come in and help you? I thought you said that it was the most safe and secure election of all time. Now you're telling us that it's actually a disaster. Please help us, federal government. So it is just, it's weird how they can't even recognize that fact. It's like these same people would come out and say 2020 was perfectly above board and legitimate, but then come out and drop the ball here and admit that everything is a problem. So, of course, we know this is about coordinating power and creating infrastructure that ensures your victory, because that's what they're doing now. AOC says, if we let Trump win, all of our elections are going to be rigged because he's going to return them back to the norm, and we don't control those anymore.
We need to understand what we are staring down in this country. If Donald Trump is elected president of the United States, we do not know if there will be a verifiable next election that has integrity. He already tried to, we saw on January 6th, he tried to overturn the results of a presidential election by force, by inciting a riot. And
she called it a riot by inciting a riot.
I think we need to be very, very realistic about the grave, grave impacts of a Donald Trump election. It is not a joke. It is not a game. We need to protect our democracy, and ideally, it's going to be on progressive values.
Yeah, and so they'll do whatever it takes to stop him, and they are doing that right now. In fact, they're indicting him multiple times to see if that works, but it's not. And even Georgia is admitting that this is problematic, that their investigations aren't working well. So if they can't investigate even the Trumpers, are they investigating the people that are on their team? Are they doing a good job investigating the people that pushed them across the finish line in 2020? My guess, not. They told us they did. They told us it was safe and secure, the most fair election of all time. But now even the Democrats are begging the DOJ to come help them fix their broken state. We're going to be here continuing to cover more of this saga. 2024 and the election litigation and what the DOJ does, what the FBI does, is going to become more and more important as the days go by. And we're going to be here continuing to cover it, my friends. So thanks for subscribing. Thanks for checking out some of the links down in the description below. And we'll look forward to seeing you back here on the next one. All right, my friends. And we got one final segment left on the day. And this one involves Obama and the CIA. Something we all suspected. And let me just check on something real quickly before we jump into this segment. Let's see here. That's right. I've got to log in. And let's do that right now. Hang on a second. We are now going to be talking about the CIA, because, you know, the CIA might be controlling a lot of different things in this country. And let's get this scheduled up here. You know, I hate those platforms that make you go into your email to log. Can I just log in, or do I have to have an email? You got to have an email. All right, so this is our final segment on the day, my friends. Let's get right to it. Obama and his CIA ordered other spies to spy on Trump, or orchestrated it at the very least. They did it. Other countries from the Five Eye countries went after the Trump campaign because this guy, John Brennan, didn't like Trump and wanted him to lose. And Trump knew all this. He talked about this when he was having this conversation with Maria Bartiromo. Remember, he says, I've got the documents. We all know this happened. Obama knew it happened. They were all spying on me. It was so that when he won and he came in, they would have something to launch into him about. In this case, of course, it was Russian collusion. Trump knew all this was going on a long time ago.
Tell you, Brennan bad, they're all bad. Everyone, Clapper is, not smart guy in charge of intelligence. But here's the thing. It was impossible for it to happen without the man that sits right in that chair in the Oval Office. He knew everything.
Do you believe President Obama directed the U.S. intelligence agencies to spy on you?
Yes, he probably directed them, but if he didn't direct them, he knew everything.
Once they couldn't find collusion evidence.
You're going to see that when the papers came out.
Okay, so put a pin in that, because this article that we're about to read from Schellenberger and Matt Taibbi, they reference those documents.
Remember the Lisa Page text to her lover saying, POTUS wants to see everything? POTUS. They're not talking about me. I wasn't president. They're talking about POTUS wants to see everything. Well, there was a meeting
on January 5th in the Oval Office. President Obama was there. Vice President Biden was there. Clapper, Brennan. And that's when the Logan Act came up. So should we believe that they were looking for collusion evidence? They couldn't find the collusion evidence. There was none. So they said, let's just use the Logan Act to take it down.
First of all, they snuck around White House counsel. They went to see a very unsuspecting General Flynn. He's a general. He's not a lawyer. They said, you don't need a lawyer. And they started asking him questions. And they probably brought up the Logan Act. And they probably scared the hell out of him. But let me tell you a little secret. They go knock, and ask K.T. McFarland the way they knocked on the door, and many other people. With Mueller, that whole thing turned out to be a total fraud. The whole Mueller investigation's a fraud. It was all part of the same deal. But what they did to General Flynn and others, we know about General Flynn. You'll find out about others, too. What they did to these people is a international disgrace. And all over the world they talk about it, because this is not America. And hopefully the people involved are going to pay a big price, because it should never be allowed to happen again.
We'll see if they do. And I think they're freaked out about this because they know if Trump wins this next election, which we hope he does, and we think he will, that he's going to have some serious ramifications coming their way, right? They are not happy about the possibility that he might be able to do something about all of the things they did to him. So they're freaked. And that makes me nervous, because they'll do anything to stop him from getting that power again. Now, this story came out from Michael Schellenberger and Matt Taibbi, and this is over on his Substack called public.substack.com. And I'm subscribed to it. I would hope that you subscribe to it as well, so we get more of this amazing reporting from these guys who are doing some really heavy lifting out there. But this is the background on the story. They say the CIA of America had foreign allies spy on Trump's team. Okay, CIA can't do it themselves. That's domestic. They're not allowed to do that. So why don't they just have other countries do it? Triggering the entire Russia collusion hoax that dogged Trump during his entire first term. Mueller, all of it was garbage, right? All made up by our own CIA. So Michael Schellenberger at public.substack.com, he writes, last year, John Durham, a special prosecutor to the DOJ, we read the Durham report, he concluded that the FBI should never, ever have opened its investigation into Trump about the collusion stuff in July of 2016. Now, multiple credible sources tell public and Racket that the United States intelligence community illegally, oops, I screwed up the screen. Illegally, let me refresh this, I screwed it up. Illegally, now multiple credible sources tell public and Racket that the U.S. intelligence community, including the CIA, illegally mobilized foreign intelligence agencies to target Trump advisors long before the summer of 2016. Now, the new information fills many gaps in our understanding of the Russia collusion hoax, and it's supported by testimony already in the public record. Until now, the official story has been that the FBI investigation began after Australian intelligence officials told U.S. officials that a Trump aide had boasted to an Australian diplomat that Russia had damning material about Hillary. So the idea was the Australians got it from some random Trump aide, and they reported it that way. But that's not true. In truth, the United States intelligence community, they asked the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, which is an international spy group, to surveil Trump's associates and to share intelligence that they had acquired with the U.S. agencies. We can't go spy on them. Why don't you do it? Now, this is from sources close to the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Okay, so these are U.S. House sources that are digging into this. The Five Eyes nations are the U.S., the U.K., Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. So the U.S. just outsourced it just like they did everything else. Remember, they outsourced the censoring to Facebook and to Twitter and to other agencies. They couldn't do it themselves, but the FBI was saying, please censor this, please censor that. After public, Michael Schellenberger and Matt Taibbi, they had been told, after they'd been told that John Brennan, Obama's CIA director, had identified 26 Trump associates for the Five Eyes to target, a source confirmed that the intelligence community had in fact identified them as people to, quote, bump. Okay, so 26 Trump associates are going to be bumped. What does that mean? It means make contact with or to manipulate. So the CIA is telling other countries, the Five Eyes countries, to bump American citizens on the Trump team, right? Which is like asking foreign agents to come in to your domestic politics. I mean, how insane is that? Our own government wants foreign agents to come in and interfere with our own presidential campaigns. I mean, talk about the election being rigged, okay? This is clearly that. To bump, to make contact, or to manipulate Trump people? They were the targets of our own intelligence community and our own law enforcement. Targets for collection and misinformation. Now, unknown details about the FBI investigation of the Trump campaign and raw intelligence related to this surveillance are in a 10-inch binder that Trump ordered to be declassified at the very end of his term. Sources tell public and Racket, right? That's that same message, those papers that Trump talked about. Now, if the top secret documents exist and it proves these charges, they're potentially proof that multiple U.S. intelligence officials broke laws against spying and against election interference. CNN, Politico, The Guardian, and many others reported in 2017 that the British government communications headquarters, called the GCHQ, which is the US equivalent, the equivalent of the National Security Agency, that the UK was the principal whistleblower in the investigation into the contact between Trump and Russia. Now, the UK, they first became aware in late 2015 of, quote, suspicious interactions between figures connected to Trump or known or suspected Russian agents. All right. A source close to the UK intelligence team wrote a team of reporters for The Guardian. Now, the intelligence sharing was supposedly just the result of what they call incidental collection. The Guardian reported, they said, it's understood that the UK was at no point carrying out a targeted operation against Trump or his team or proactively seeking information. It was just incidental. The alleged conversations were picked up by chance, I'm sure, as part of routine surveillance of Russian assets. But now that's not true. Sources say the UK, their version of their events is false. The UK government lied to us too. Instead, that's not what happened. It wasn't incidental at all. The US intelligence community asked its foreign allies to target 26 people on Trump's team, all to justify the FBI's investigation. They were making contacts. They were bumping Trump people going back to March 2016 before the election. A source close to the investigation said they were sending people around the UK, to Australia, to Italy. They went to the Mossad in Italy. The MI6 was working at an intelligence school that they had set up. The source said that the intelligence community considered the 26 Trump campaign people that they identified to bump or to, quote, reverse target or to manipulate through CHSs to be easy marks because of their relative inexperience, obviously. These are American civilians who are just running a political campaign. They're not assets of foreign governments. So the CIA and these intelligence expert spies, right, they just decide, let's go infiltrate all of Trump. 26 people. Now, doing so was illegal. Why? Both because the U.S. law prohibits the intelligence gathering unless it's authorized by a FISA warrant, which they're probably going to cram through again tonight. And because the weaponization of the intelligence community for political purposes is literally election interference, literally. So Brennan, former President Barack Obama, under whom he served, and the CIA did not respond to our requests, obviously. The Justice Department also declined to comment. But the FBI and England, they did respond. England said the allegations that the GCHQ was asked to conduct wiretapping against the then president-elect are nonsense. They are utterly ridiculous and should be ignored. But it was more than just wiretapping, right? It's like bumps and all those other things. What about the bumps? What about the surveillance? Now, however, in our email presenting the claims to England, we did not refer to wiretapping. We didn't say that there exactly, but rather to its spy agency's broader alleged involvement in the scheme. Oh, no, we didn't wiretap anybody. Okay, well, we didn't ask about that. We asked if you did all of the other things. No, of course not. We didn't. Well, obviously, we didn't wiretap him. Okay, that's not what we're asking for. It's like not even a good line from the spies. It's like, hello, come on, guys. Give us more than that. Said the FBI, they said the conduct in 2016 and 2017 that John Durham examined was the reason that the FBI leadership already implemented dozens of corrective actions. The FBI said, oh, we made some mistakes back then, but we fixed those, which have now been in place for some time. FBI said, we fixed all those problems. The missteps that were identified in the report could have been prevented and we made changes, so it's not going to happen again. But the new information provided by our sources should significantly alter the public's understanding of how the U.S. intelligence community, how they began their illegal investigation into Trump and created this whole fake narrative about collusion. Now, a little more. Previously released evidence supports the claim that the intelligence community began investigating Trump before the FBI even began Crossfire Hurricane. FBI's already admitted it should not have sought FISA warrants to wiretap Carter Page, a Trump advisor. The FBI had included in its FISA warrant, in its application for Page, non-credible intelligence from a CHS called Christopher Steele, the British spy. A source told Public and Racket that IC officials had targeted Page because they viewed him as inexperienced. You look at some of the people who were there in the list. They weren't sophisticated or experienced at disinformation or at dealing with the IC people, planting ideas or befriending you. Sick, man. Who else are they doing this to? In 2018, HPSCI released a 243-page report clearing Trump of allegations that he and his team colluded with Russia. Obviously never happened. House Republicans made a deal with the CIA to place their documents inside a safe within the CIA's vault. HPSCI, okay, so that's the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. They released a 243-page report clearing Trump, but they made a deal. They put it in the CIA's vault. We can't read that. Sources close to the investigation say that from 2019 to 2020, the House Select Intelligence Committee, they continued working out of a small room in Langley, and they now had access to raw logs and communications from agencies like the CIA and the National Security Council, right? They can see like the emails, like the logs. This user sent this on this date and time. The first of the IC surveillance targets appeared to be former Defense Intelligence Agency head and would-be Trump advisor Michael Flynn. Academic Stephen Halper, one of the few outed CHSs from Crossfire Hurricane, he approached Flynn back in March. The Stephen Halper story is ridiculous, said the source. He was the consultant to write papers that weren't really papers, and he was paid inflated sums like 400 grand. He was conducting bumps and intel contacts. Halper approached at least 4 other Trump targets in total. He was paid $411,000 by the U.S. government in 2016. And this is via the Office of Net Assessment. This is a Pentagon office that exists to pay off spies, as one of the sources put it. So this dude, Halper, got paid almost $500,000 to write fake papers. We already know they wrote fake papers because of the Michael Steele dossier, Christopher Steele dossier. When asked by Public, if he thought the IC surveillance started with him, Flynn said it actually did. The crazy thing is I had just gone through a full security clearance and an update investigation, which had just closed about 6 months prior. I took a polygraph. They knew there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing at all. But other people continued to bump other Trumpers. Trump aide George Papadopoulos also got bumped by a Maltese professor named Joseph Misfit. Like they've got professors who are on the payroll. Bumping has all kinds of techniques, says Michael Flynn. The purpose is to get compromising material on them or to then do something with them and then use them in some capacity. House Democrats on the Intelligence Committee called Misfit Kremlin-linked and a Russian cutout. But no, a source told Public that Mifsud was a professor who really worked for the MI6. Okay, it's all Russians. Russia, Russia, Russia. No, it's England. MI6 did not respond to requests for comments. And so the rest of this, I'm going to invite you to go subscribe to the Public Substack because there's even more, as you can see. There's more juiciness, but you're going to need to go subscribe to do that. So go to public.substack.com, become a subscriber just like I am, and support these guys. They're doing excellent work out there. Michael Schellenberger, Matt Taibbi, and Alex Gutentag are really, getting the scoop on all of this, and it's disgusting what they're doing. But the CIA is involved in all of this, and these people, like Joe, they come out and they say, we have to do this, right? We have to have our government do these things because democracy is on the line. And so they'll break all the rules that they can. This is what Scarborough sounds like when he's screaming about this stuff on his show.
This is a moment in time everybody has to stop and recognize that not only is American democracy on the line, but freedom across the globe on the line.
See, that's why they need all the Five Eyes intelligence. That's why they need the Australians and the English and so on to come in and interfere in our elections.
Donald Trump is siding with Xi. Donald Trump is siding with Putin. Donald Trump is siding with Kim Jong-un. These are the people that he wants to make alliances with, and he wants to turn his back on a free Europe.
Okay, so, obviously what's happening here is we're living in a little dictatorship by another name. We sit around and call it like freedom and democracy and all that stuff. But if the CIA is interfering with your election, is that a democracy at all? If Obama's John Brennan is ordering allies of America or orchestrating with allies of America to come spy on American citizens, how is that not treason? Like outright. By bypassing the rules, bypassing FISA so that they don't have to get warrants, just have the other people do it. Bringing outside agents to interfere with American citizens and their lawful work. I don't know how that is not treason. So it is really a shocking thing, and the CIA is still the CIA. Has there been any reform? Is there going to be any change in direction? Do you think that they woke up after 2016 and thought, gosh, maybe we shouldn't have done that. That was a really bad thing. Let's be better this time. No, of course not. They're still all in there. They still wrote that they were still there in 2020 when they wrote their 51 so-called intelligence letter. Still lying about the elections. So they were rigging it in 2016. They're rigging it in 2020. We're going to see what they're going to do in 2024. But my guess is they're going to do everything they can to rig it again. And so we're going to be here, my friends, continuing to cover this and more. Thank you for subscribing. Don't forget to subscribe to our friends over on public.substack.com. We've also got some other great stuff that you can check out in our description below as well. We have watcherlodge.com, our newest project. We have a bunch of great events out there now. And so sign up for an event. They're free. Don't have to sign up to become a lodge member unless you want to come to the lodge member events. But we've got Zen Wellness coming up. We've got food sovereignty coming up. And so go to watcherlodge.com to go and sign up for those free events. We'll look forward to seeing you over there and back here on the next one. All right, my friends. Well, that is it for us on the day. A little bit of a shorter show. Of course, tomorrow we got a full day ahead, and it's going to be in Fani Willis's case in her disqualification hearing. Tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, we are going to be here. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're comfy. We're going to have a full day of streaming. We're going to, I think, just keep blowing through the lunch. We're going to be probably here for about 8 hours, and it's going to be amazing. It's a big deal because if Fani is disqualified, if this case is dismissed, that's the end of the RICO case, right? It's a big deal. So it could be ultimately what leads to the end of the Georgia case, and we're going to be covering it. So hopefully you join us as we're here. We are not going to plan on a live show tomorrow, so this will replace the live show, and we'll try to consolidate a highlight reel after we have the full day hearing. So if you can't stick around for 8 hours, watch the full day, we can kind of consolidate it. So make sure you subscribe, my friends, and we'll look forward to seeing you right back here early tomorrow morning. Now, it's time to hear from you. We covered some good ground today. Obama orchestrating the CIA to spy on Trump. Orchestrating with the CIA to spy on Trump. Fani Willis and Fulton County not investigating any actual criminality there in Georgia. And that's going to be curious in 2024. And of course, their relationship lies, Fani and Wade, all busted because we know there are some serious incongruities. It's not congruent, and there is a problem with his affidavit as it relates to the interrogatories. But now, my friends, it is time to hear from you. Let's see what you say about this. Of course, we are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com as soon as we're done here for our members only after party. We'd love to see you over there. If you're on YouTube and you're a member on YouTube, you can join us on our after party. You just have to grab the Telegram link. So go on to our channel homepage on YouTube, scroll over to the community tab section, scroll down a couple months back, maybe more than that, and find the private Telegram link. Click that link. You'll join us for the after party. And we'd love to see you there. All right, now let's see who is in the house on this very beautiful day. We have a couple donos in the house. Great to see you. Don't Mind Me in the house. What's up, Don't Mind Me? In the house. And so it's great to see you, Sharon, 7 months as a member, almost all the way to a baby. And so Don't Mind Me, good to see you. Thanks for modding the fort down for us and keeping things nice and orderly and being a member for 7 months. We've also got another one coming in courtesy of Ike's Girl. What's up, Ike's Girl? Says 1 week as a new member. Whoa, that's great. Love your show. 1, please explain double jeopardy and why it's important. Number 2, number 22 and number 25, does the subpoena cover the accounting offices too? Okay, so double jeopardy, it's just a provision in the law, and it's a legal concept. It's in the Constitution that says you can't be charged twice for the same crime. So as it applied, right, obviously that makes sense. Like if you're charged with murder once, they're not going to charge you with murder again. You've already been punished once, so you can't be punished twice. So Trump is using that as an argument to say he cannot be prosecuted in the January 6th immunity, in the January 6th DC case, which is on appeal based on immunity right now. But he's saying, Trump's defense is, I was already basically criminally charged under the impeachment proceedings. Okay, got charged with insurrection in the House, got on trial in the Senate for insurrection, and was acquitted. And so that is the first time he was charged, and they can't charge him again. I actually think that's one of his more weaker arguments, to be honest. I actually don't really think that's accurate. But I think the stronger argument is the impeachment judgment clause, which is a better defense for him. Now, as to the subpoena, I don't know if she would have subpoenaed the accounting offices like the CPA or anything like that. She might have interviewed them or, you know, requested records. I didn't see anything that they were going after the CPA. And remember, in the Jocelyn and Nathan Wade divorce, like, I think that's going to be settled relatively quickly. Nathan Wade is like, honey, you can have everything. Like, remember there was going to be an evidentiary hearing in the divorce case, and they called that off because Nathan's like, you can have everything. You want the car, you want the bank account, you want this, you want that, it's yours. Just don't make Fani testify. Whew. Good to see you, Ike's girl, and thanks for joining us. You know, first week, first month's the hardest. Then you get to know the lay of the land a little bit. You get to meet all the fun faces. And so we're glad that you're here and joining us. It's going to be a great year. Leanne. Amazing. What's up, Leanne? Wow, says new subscriber from Canada. Shout out. Says, glad to be here. Great job. I'm hooked, especially on your sarcasm. It's real and appreciated. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day to you, Leanne. And shout out to our friends up in Canada. Yeah, you know, Canada. What, you know, you guys have a dictator up there. I don't know how that happened so fast. We have one down here too, but we're in good company. Okay, we're going to save our countries together. Great to have you here, Leanne. And thanks for being here. We've got this one from Muffin Rando. A membo for 5 months. We're over the hump on our way to a baby. Says Russia is sending up space nukes today. Biden silent. I heard that. Yeah. I heard that Russia is going to have like some new space capabilities, which is like, you know, of course they are, because right now there's a lot of pressure to pass the Ukraine bill, of course. So why of course Russia would have now nukes in space. Obviously. There are nukes in space now. Weird. Just happens out of nowhere. And they have to pass FISA tonight, right? Or this week, maybe tomorrow morning. All of a sudden, nukes in space. Great. Thanks for that. All right. Tammy's here. Welcome, Tammy, as our newest supporter. Don't forget to grab that Telegram link, and we'll see you in the after party. We got Doxson is here. Says, good afternoon, Rob. Glad to be here with y'all as I drive out to Oklahoma City today. I won't feel so lonely now. Well, Doxson, have a very safe drive and enjoy your time in Oklahoma City. I heard they're building a very tall building there. Is that still happening? I think that'd be kind of cool. But good to see you, Doxson. Thanks for being here. Drive safely, my friend. Stop sniffing kids, Joe is here. Just sending it in. 7 likes on that dono. Stop sniffing kids, Joe. I don't think he can. I don't think he can help it. He can't help himself. Ike's girl said, is Wade facing perjury charges now? No, he hasn't been. I mean, who's going to charge him? Fani? Fani's going to indict him? Like actually indict him, not, you know, the euphemism indictment that we talk about. No, he's not facing anything right now. Maybe he will, or maybe the state bar will look into this, but nothing now. Good to see you, Ikes. Brooks Kelly's here. Says, will I ever see Maricopa become mea culpa? Like the name will change into mea culpa? Or are you saying that Maricopa is ever going to say that we were wrong or that we performed poorly when we disenfranchised half of Arizona on election day? Remember that? And Bill Gates, onesie-twosie Bill Gates, how we just put some onesie-twosies on the old electronic machines over there? Just a little bit of a problem on election day. Hey, Bill, there are people standing in line in multiple locations that are all Kerry Lake's jurisdictions. Just a little onesie-twosie, fix a couple things. This is normal process. He went off like 5 days a week as they were rigging the whole thing. So No, they're not going to have any mea culpa. It's just Maricopa County. They think they did a great job. They're like patting themselves on the back. Great election. Carrie Lake lost. Love that. Show Bizzle in the house says, my favorite part of the day, Rob, you are awesome. Show Bizzle. Honestly, it's my favorite part of the day too. I love hanging out with you guys. It's a ton of fun. I learn a lot. We get to go through this madness together. It's just the best. Show Bizzle, thanks for being here and supporting us and being on Locals. We got Tara says, happy Valentine's Day, my friend. Sending love from Canada. Another Canadian in the house, along with Leanne. So shout out to our friends in Canada. Happy Valentine's Day, my friends. Hopefully you're spreading the love all around. We don't know what Fani and Wade are doing. We're going to see how they look tomorrow during the hearing. I cannot wait for that. We got this one. UK Macman says, I know. Fani, so UK Macman says, okay, listen. Fani here in the UK is not the same as in the US. It's the front parts. So when you say the biggest Fani in Georgia, it has a different meaning here. Yeah, I know, but there's nothing we can do about that. I know it's a strange thing, but she still is the biggest Fani in Georgia. We're talking here in the US about the rear, about the rear Fani, but I know I'm aware of this. Yeah, we have a couple friends from the UK over on our Locals, and we had a very interesting conversation about that. And think about it. It's not just the biggest Fani in Georgia. It's like, the loudest Fani. It makes like a lot of noise, like, a lot of hot air coming out, anyways, it's like, oh my gosh. So the visuals just get really bizarre. Dolphin Fan is the man in the house, bringing in new members. We got Arnold N. Liquid Rock Aquatics is coming in. Wheezy Bob is here. Brian L's in the house, and Electrics is also joining us. And so courtesy of Dolphin Fan is the man. Very nice to see you. Thanks for bringing in the newest of members. Ike's Girl says, what started Days of Our Lives in Fulton County, Georgia? Ashley Merchant did. She filed that motion to dismiss, and now it's Days of Our Lives with Fani and Nathan, and it's going to be a total free-for-all tomorrow, and I can't wait. The Blind Lawyer over on Rumble says Wade was not paid more than the other attorneys. Rather, Wade was tasked with duties that deserved hazard pay. Bobbity boppin', that woman's gross. Bobbity boppin'. Yeah, doing the old hibbity dibbity, the bobbity boppin'. The hopping on the one leg, doing the bad thing, the one good leg, doing the bad, I got it, yeah. All the things. I don't know if it's worth it, man. $1 million, not worth it. Rick B says, Jay Water, Road Less Wolf is coming in. Jay Water, Road Less Wolf. Welcome aboard. Rick Bing, gifting 5 members. Michael B, Jenny D's in the house. We got Peter M's in the house. SCVM joining us, courtesy of Rick Bing in the house. Very nice to see you. And thank you, Rick, for bringing in 5 new members. Very generous of you. Thank you for doing that. We got Jeffrey says, Rob, if I recall correctly, the defense counsel subpoenaed any and all documents between the White House and the Georgia DA. The judge said he would review them in camera and ex parte. Any follow-up on that? Good question, Jeffrey. I do remember that. Yeah, we did talk about that. And actually, we did a segment on that, I think, because he admitted that there were 2 letters. Remember, they said it was 1 letter, and then there were 2 letters. You're right. I have not seen any follow-up on that. And who filed that motion? Was that Ashley Merchant too? Or was that a different attorney? We'll keep our eye out on that, Jeffrey. They're doing a ton of motions, hearings on this. And that was a part of the that came out of the Nathan Wade thing because he billed for that. They actually billed for phone calls with the White House counsel. So yeah, good question. We'll keep our eye on it. I have not seen anything else come from that, but we'll put a pin in it for sure. Glocky's over on Local says, is this going to make other defense attorneys in Fulton County try to disqualify Fani or her office? Maybe, like if they find another disqualification reason. So, the reason why this is obviously a big deal is because the special counsel is on the Trump case, and he's only on the Trump case. And so, that's where the real conflict comes into play. But, if they find some other improprieties from Fani and her office, and now they're all looking for it, okay? They've all got their magnifying glasses and their microscopes out, and they're saying, oh, okay, maybe my best defense in my criminal case, my client's charged with multiple felonies, maybe it has nothing to do with my client or the defense. Maybe it has to do with Fani's office. And so they're going to be looking for procedural problems and other things that can really deviate the entire office. Because you have to imagine, like, if this is a pattern, right? If she's engaging in this pattern with Nathan Wade, I'm not saying it's a pattern that she necessarily is, sleeping with other prosecutors in her office, maybe, I don't know. But it shows that she's willing to, bend certain rules. She's on cruises like once a month. Stuff like that, they're going to start looking into that and finding where there are other holes in her office, which is, going to be a lot. Felix, what's up, Felix? Thank you very much. A very nice dono today. Says, isn't justice blindfolded with scales in her hand, weighing evidence without personal judgment? Supposed to be. But when the love of money is far more than the love of truth, justice, and mercy, then you get Fani and Wade. Easy money, easy hookup. And man, they were living lavish, weren't they? They were just enjoying it, man. They were on multiple cruises every month. Boom, 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 boom. And that's on Fulton County money. If Nathan Wade had independent judgment and said, I'm going to dismiss these cases, all the money would go away. It'd all go down. So we'll see what happens tomorrow, and it's just going to be a lot of fun. Londo says, can't the judge consider this in addition to the lame diversions and just dismiss this case as irreparably salacious and beneath the court's consideration? No, I mean, not as, like irreparably salacious, I don't think is a legal standard, but I kind of understand what you're saying. It's like you would need another legal reason to do it. Like the case is, it's so fatally flawed because of the conflict that you can't trust the actual work product that's come out. So yeah, the judge could. He could. I don't think he's going to do it because it's scandalous and salacious, but he's going to do it because the conflict is so big and glaring that you can't look away. And the conflict is so bad that if there is a judgment in the case, it would be tainted by the misconduct. So I think that is probably more likely. Hey, Stephen M. says the name jokes are getting old and tired and unfunny. The name jokes are getting old and tired and unfunny. That's good feedback. Thank you for that, Stephen. Rob says, I thought once you gave a statement, you can't then plead the fifth on other parts of your story. Once you start talking, you give up your right to remain silent. Is that correct? Yeah. So like you can't pick and choose. Like you can't invoke on some things and then not on other things. Unless you work something out with the prosecutor and they give you, some qualified immunity on certain things. We got this one from Felix. The only way they can be called honorable is not by actions and character, but by election or appointment. Sad. Yeah, and they get into the position and they just do the job of their team, right? They just get into it and they support their team. It's not about justice or honor. It's about serving their team. This one from Chubby says, they're petitioning the DOJ to step in and attempt to try to save the RICO prosecutions when Fani and Wade and the whole Fulton County DA's office inevitably gets removed. Inevitably gets removed. You might be right about that, right? They want to sanctify the electoral system so that they can still exploit it in the next election. Felix says the result of perjury for Slick Willie Bill Clinton was getting disbarred, right? Yeah, it's not. Well, did he get charged for that? Yeah, it's not a good thing to lie to the court. It's really, really a bad thing. Air Force vet says, what if it is reverse psychology? Tell the FBI and the DOJ to investigate, but it is actually to find the truth. Could be true. Maybe they'll come in and tell us that the whole system is corrupt. I'm not sure. I think it's they have control over the system, even if it is corrupt. Felix says the Honorable AOC and her words of dishonor. That's AOC playing the game as usual. Londo says they can't even investigate prisoners dying of bed bugs, so they can't even investigate insects. How are they going to investigate a 19 co-defendant RICO case? And I agree with that. I mean, remember that Nathan Wade evidently did the first investigation on some of those problems, and he didn't even take notes because he keeps all the notes right here in his brain. We got Jack Mack says, the intent of January 6th was not to take over the U.S. government. I believe what people wanted was more time to investigate the fraud claims before certifying the election. Isn't that the case? Yeah, I think that's exactly right, Jack. Yeah, it's lunacy to think that the J6ers were going to seize control of the government. Like, that's insane. Although that one guy did get that lectern, lectern guy got that thing. So maybe that could have been it. I don't know. But no, it's nuts, obviously. Like, it was a 4-hour riot. They were out in hours. They were back that same night counting the votes. And just, having a riot in a building that they were waved into doesn't give control of the government to them. It's lunacy. But yeah, I think that's right. They wanted to protest. The election was clearly rigged, and they were unhappy about what was happening. And so they were making their voices heard, and they got set up and exploited as a result. Thank you, Jack, for the nice dono and for being a membo. We got this one coming in from Felix. Says, many times FBI gets people on lying to law enforcement. Never talk to the cops without legal representation, and not a public defender. You have a right to remain innocent, by James Duenny. I think that's a great talk on YouTube. He says there's never a benefit in talking to the cops. Never, never, never. Great video. End point. Felix says, there it is. You have the right to remain silent, by James Duane. I think that's a lecture on YouTube. That's a good one. This one from Pinochet says, want to sell one inconspicuous binder proving CIA crimes against Trump. Message with your best offer. Did you know the CIA can operate domestically if the FBI is attached? Oh, wow. So I'd like to buy that binder. Sure, I'll buy your CIA binder with all the Trump evidence in it. Yeah, I'll reach out to you. Londo, it's a joke, FBI, relax. We're joking. Londo says, the only way to stop this is to take the entire agencies down, rebuild them if one must, but the current incarnations, they gotta go. They gotta go, in my humble opinion. Yeah, well, I think that was Vivek's solution, right? Just get rid of them. Literally, just get rid of them. Alondo, thank you for that one. Baps is here. Says, are military tribunals possible against Brennan, etc., if Trump wins? That's a great question. I don't know much about military law. I really don't know. Good question. I don't know the answer to that one. I'm sure somebody else does, though. And I wonder, I think that there could have been, so for Mark Milley, for example, like when Mark Milley called China after January 6th, I think that one for sure. Brennan is in the CIA, so I don't know about him, but like Milley, remember when Milley after January 6th, he called the Chinese, he's like, everything's fine over here. It's like, did Trump tell you to call the Chinese? Why are you calling the Chinese? That's a breach of the chain of command, I would say. And so I would think a military trial against him would be possible. But Brennan and the CIA, I don't know. This one, thank you, Babs. Great question. Pinochet says the GCHQ was also involved in the 2020 election via the Department of Homeland Security and CETL. Yeah, it's all, are elections even real? If they're all involved in this, bumping 26 Trump campaigners? Ridiculous. Hey, Indoctrination is here. Says, my wife got me this beautiful bacon bouquet, and I guess this means she loves me. Wow. That is an outstanding gift. Manly Man Company. Peppered steak, I think is what that says. Original beef. Oh gosh, that looks so good. Shout out to your wife, Indoctrination. What a great, great gift. Happy Valentine's Day to you. Oh, here we go. Here's even higher res. Peppered stout beef jerky. And bacon on the go. What on earth? Bacon, it looks like a piece of bacon on the go. Wow, this world is just outstanding. God bless America sometimes. Melanie says, thank you for keeping us updated. Updated on all these cases. You're a gem. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Melanie. And I appreciate you being here. Thanks for the nice dono. We got a lot of work on these cases that it's coming down the pike. It's going to be a lot of fun to go through them together. So, Tupac's here, says my testosterone is increasing just looking at it. Yeah, it's a nice gift. Yeah, America can really still deliver sometimes, and portable bacon is one way we can do that. Absolutely outstanding. What's up? Knox is here, says just got here. I went to play with the grandbabies bearing Valentine's Day kazoos. I hope everyone has a great day as I did. I'm sure that was a lot of fun. So a bunch of grandbabies blowing kazoos over there at the Knox Bierman extended family household. Knox, thanks for being here. Defense attorney extraordinaire from the great state of Texas. Hey, what's up, Ida? Ida's joining us as our newest supporter. Welcome aboard, Ida. And don't forget to grab the Telegram link on YouTube. Milo says, okay, look up this article. Apparently it says, I am the walrus. 3 key questions about the investigations of the role of Stephen Halper. Halper has not given even a goo-goo gajoob on the media on the details of his past role with the FBI. All right, that sounds like an interesting story. And the walruses are right there too. Crash says, Rob, was the grand jury Wade's grand jury? If it was, how can any of the testimony or evidence be trusted? Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, I mean, right, it was him and Fani, and I think they were all involved in it. He was back in 2021. He was part of the investigation and presumably the presentation. Yeah, that's the point, right? That's why they're saying all of this needs to go away. Because, in other words, Nathan Wade was only doing this to get paid and to support his lover. And Fani was paying him to do the prosecution so she could go on cruises. In other words, the prosecution is illegitimate because there's an ulterior motive that underpins it all. And that's why it's got to go. We got Fred says, Johnny wants to know if you'll be his Valentine. Well, I'm happy to, but I know Johnny gets into some very strange things. Like, I think, wasn't he hanging out with like Epstein at his island or something like that? I mean, he looks so dang cute and just, like you just want to rub his ears and call him a real good boy. But I have some concerns. So we'll talk about it, Fred. Thanks for asking. Pan-seared ribeye says Judge Napolitano on Fox reported that the British intelligence was spying on Trump's campaign. He was immediately removed and he was never seen on Fox again. Of course, that sounds about right. That sounds about right. Yeah. If you speak too much truth, like, Catherine Herridge or something, you got to go. Like, you can't. The news is not for actual facts and reality. What, are you kidding? It's just a propaganda. You got to play the game, man. Otherwise, you got to go. Like, you speak truth, go on YouTube. Get out of here. Pinochet says space nukes. It feels like feds are recycling the plot to Space Cowboys. Yeah, I kind of thought there were already nukes in space. I like that movie, actually. That's the one with Clint Eastwood, Two-Face guy. What's his name? The Two-Face Batman guy. You know who he is. And the other dudes. Anyways. Yeah, they all went up to space, and the Russians had nukes up in space. I figured there was already nukes in space. They just never told us about them. So now they're going to come out and say the Russians have nukes in space. We need $95 billion for Ukraine. Get out of here. Roy says a slight comical take on the UK definition of Fani and related words. We had an MP named Jeremy Hunt, a top BBC reporter live on air, replaced the H in his name with the C. Just glad his name wasn't Mike. Oh, gosh. From Roy. Yeah, Jeremy H with Jeremy Hunt replaced with a C. Not good. Well, it happens. Unfortunate slips. Hey, Sandy says, I have Perkins Coy appearing for Fani tomorrow on my bingo card. Gosh, that would be amazing. Yeah, Mark Elias walks right in with Democracy Docket. He's like, I'm here, Your Honor, appearing on behalf of Fani. You're like, we knew it. We got Starved Baby says, I'm curious as to whether she has any emails or texts to Stacey Abrams or that Ruby Freeman and her daughter. Another great question. Yeah, that's kind of the point with Fani. It's like, where else does this rabbit hole go? How deep is this thing going to go? Where do the tentacles extend? And defense attorneys are just salivating all over Georgia right now. 66 Anton says the names are not getting old. Fani, Nathan Footlong, also Hot Dog, Daylong, and all the names. We have a lot of names here, so we have to. It's probably appropriate to change them out, refresh them from time to time. I don't want to be a broken record here, So I appreciate the feedback. But Fani's not going anywhere. I mean, we have a whole hearing tomorrow. We got Chris is in the house. Thank you, Chris, for the lovely dono. Thank you for sending that one in. No message, but a nice thumbs up. Thank you. 66 is here saying all day, baby. All day. That's tomorrow. We're going to be here a lot. We got Pinochet. Says military tribunal, no, for Brennan. Military renditions, yes. Interesting. Object class, Keeter, says, I'm curious how control will shift if every election didn't allow party affiliation. DA, Congress, Senate, state elections, etc. So if you just had to vote by name, right, and not by party, that would be very curious. If you just like banned political parties, just run and just put your name on there. it would be curious. I think people are very much aligned with parties. You know, they just vote blue. Like, it doesn't matter if you can even talk. They shove in Fetterman. They shoved in that white guy in Pennsylvania over the black female who ran as a Republican, right? They put the white guy in over the black female, or yeah. And you go, this is racist. How could you do that? You know, I thought you said diversity. And they said, well, not that diverse. We don't want diverse Republicans in here. We just want our side to win no matter what. And calling for diversity means we can call you guys racists. Okay. So it would be curious. I think it might shift a lot, actually. Neuro says, okay, be careful, Rob. Jokes will be illegal soon. That's probably true. We know that guy went to prison for a meme. Also, defund all the 3-letter agencies, which would be a good start. Would be a very good start. B-Man says Ruby Freeman and that other lady sued Rudy in Washington, D.C. And what's up with that? Well, he got hit with a major judgment on that. Like, was it like 80 million something? I mean, it was massive. So I think he's appealing that. I don't know what the status of that case is, but yeah, there's lawfare all over the place. Trump is not the only one, right? They're actually going after everybody who's even in the orbit. So let's say hello. Thank you for those very generous donos, my friends. Very grateful. I appreciate those. We are going to see who's joining us on the X platform in the house on the day. And here is who is joining us. What's up? Vianticus says it is very good to see everyone wishing each other a happy me day, a happy me day. So it's like happy V day, right? Happy Valentine's Day, right? And you can see down here, it looks like Vantikiss might be whacking Fani with a piece of bacon. So go on over to X to see that one. Darkside says, great show as always, Rob. And he has a shop. Darkside has a shop. It says 25 items have been added. And so if you want to check out his shop, this is what it looks like. He's over on X, and we certainly support our supporters. Irene is here, says this thing just gets thicker by the day. That's what Fani said. Raven Madness is here. Too senile for jury trial. Says, here's a follow-up to Wade's grand jury question on its own. The premature release of the indictment may not be a bombshell, but now, isn't it aggravating evidence of a rigged indictment by a corrupt prosecutor? Very true. A lot of evidence there. Dave Smith says, just wondering how many times our boy said gang of 8 in one sentence. So Jake Sullivan, who went to Oxford, you know, very smart, going to save the world with his education. All of that is, of course, yeah, okay. So good comments on the X platform, my friends. If you want to follow us over there, it's at Rob Govea ESQ. Thanks for supporting your other watchers on X, boosting their stuff, retweeting their stuff, liking their stuff, and meeting each other out there in the wild on the X platform. Now that is going to be it for us on the day. We are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We have a members only after party we do every day after the show. And we would love to see you come and join us over there. We also have robertgovea.com where we have the PDFs and the show notes. Show reports are there. And watcherlodge.com. Go over there, sign up. And if you already registered for this, this has been rescheduled. So if you've added it on your calendar, update your calendar, okay? It's going to go to February 29th because we got 2 days of the Fani hearing coming up. And so we're going over to locals. Before we do, we want to thank our mods and our meme smiths who mod down the fort for us. Our friends, Vienticus Prime, K-Beans in the house, Just Cause, we got Playing Hooky, Ronnie Cole, our friend Zulu, Beyond Geo, we got Zach Nichols, John Allen's in the house, Janek, Dog Digger, and Donut Mind Me, all in the house. Very glad to have you modding the fort down for us. Want to thank our meme smiths, Sleepy Dog Lee, Geegum Geegum, and Nathan N810, all in the house. We had a nice chat come in from Melanie. Says, I have to counter Stephen M. Okay, the name jokes crack me up every time. Keep it up. Okay, so good feedback there. We'll be cognizant of all the various opinions. I do like the names. Some of the names I feel like I say a little too often, so I need to use them sparingly. You don't want to wear it out, wear out a good thing. But tomorrow is going to be a lot of Fani stuff. I mean, there's nothing we can do. It's her name. We can't help it. So I appreciate the feedback. Thank you, Melanie. Thanks for the support on both sides of the argument. I do appreciate it. And Melanie, thanks for sending that one in as we wrap it up. So my friends, that is going to be it for us on the day. We are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We'd love to see you over there. But if not, well, we're going to be back here tomorrow. It's going to be early, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, a full day of Fani Willis and Nathan Wade, and it's going to be a doozy. And we need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. See you right back here in the morning. Bye-bye.